I was going to change too. Don't have time. I got to go.
All right. Sorry, folks.
All right. Well, 3, we've got a quorum, so we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Rogers, take the roll call, please.
Mr. Stone Street?
Here.
Mr. Tully?
Here.
Mr. Hodge here. Mr. Stewart's? And Mr. Parker. We have a quorum.
All right, we have a quorum. Next agenda item is election of officers. I'm sorry, I don't recall where we left them.
I've missed the last couple, so don't ask me.
Missed.
I recommend we table that. Or can we proceed?
I don't know if we can table that.
Can we,
Yeah.
What you can do is you can take nominations from the floor and ask 3 times. And you agree with the nominations from the floor, then you may choose to.
can we move this item to the bottom of the agenda?
That's probably a good idea, given the number of people who speak.
I'll make a motion to move election of officers to the bottom of today's agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2 ayes. We will revisit election of officers towards the end of the agenda. December 4, 2023 minutes. I've had a chance to review them. I don't have any issues with them. I don't know if anyone else has had a chance.
I'll make a motion to approve December 4th, 2023 minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, on the minutes.
People.
Okay, agenda item 6 is citizen concerns. The citizen concerns, and we will get to specific comments on the variance application before us. Are there any other citizen concerns? With that, Melissa, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening.
Actually, before you get started, are there any conflicts of interest by any member of the board with respect to Parker Brothers Properties LLC?
No.
I think so. Do we have the members?
Members from Parker Brother Properties?
Yes. What's your name,
What's your
sir?
names?
My name's Jimmy.
Jimmy Parker?
Jimmy Parker, yes, sir.
Okay. And Jesse Parker?
That's my brother.
Okay. All right. I don't recognize them. I don't believe I do.
Okay.
No, I don't believe. I'm not aware of any.
With that, we will open the public hearing.
Parker Brother Properties LLC has submitted a zoning variance application for parcel 18 of tax map 224, which is at 6250 Tays Valley Road in Scott Depot. 2 variances are requested, one from Article 600.05A and one from Article 1200.02E of the zoning ordinance. Article 600.05A states the minimum secondary front setback is to be 10 feet. The applicant proposes to potentially have an 8.48 feet setback instead. Article 1200.02E requires no parking in the front setback, and the applicant does propose to have 2 parking spaces in that setback. The subject parcel is zoned C1 Suburban Commercial. It is the intent of the C1 district to provide for retail businesses and services that serve primarily the residents of suburban areas of the county. This district shall allow convenience and personal service establishments generally compatible through proper site planning with residential uses. By limiting the number of uses and intensity of the development, the surrounding residential and commercial property values shall be enhanced by protecting them from excessive levels of noise, lighting, or other nuisances. Articles 150, 600, 1200, and 2100 of the zoning ordinance are the main provisions by which tonight's request will be considered. Ordinance definitions are commercial business, any wholesale, retail, or service business activity established to carry on trade for a profit, setback, the required minimum horizontal distance between the building line and the related front, side, or rear property line, and variance, a modification of the strict terms of the relevant regulations of this ordinance, where such modification will not be contrary to the public interest and where owing to conditions peculiar to the property that are not the result of the action of the applicant, a literal enforcement of regulations would result in unnecessary and undue hardship. Moving on to the facts. The application and disclosure statement are included in Attachment A. The 0.22 acre site is currently developed as a 1926 residential home plus a 535 plus or minus square feet manufactured structure used as Barry's Barber Shop with a gravel parking area. This property is legal nonconforming. Photographs of the existing site are included as Attachment B. It is the applicant's intent to develop a two-story, 55 by 36, which is 360 square feet, office building. The applicant will submit a permit application for construction at a future time. Once received, planning staff will review the development proposal for compliance with all county-adopted ordinances. A proposed plan is included as Attachment C. It's also up there on the tripod. A green line represents the front setback, and it's required to be 10 feet. The applicant proposes the setback at that location potentially be 8.48 feet instead. You'll see that with the blue coloring. The building may be 1.52 feet closer to the property line than allowed by the zoning ordinance. The red line indicates the shared boundary of the subject property and the DOH right-of-way. The pink area shows the 2 parking spaces proposed in the front setback. The parking spaces are proposed to be 8 inches away from the right-of-way line. A zoning map is included as Attachment D. The subject parcel is outlined. This parcel is directly abutted by the following lands. Parcels 16, 56, and 102 are located to the south and west. Each of those are zoned R1 single-family residential, which is the yellow coloring. Parcels 16 and 102 have existing single-family dwellings, and parcel 56 is vacant. Parcel 1 is located to the east, and it is zoned C1 pink. That's suburban commercial also. This property was originally developed as residential in 1962 and is now being advertised as commercial. Parcels 58, 63, and 78 are located to the north and are zoned R2 mixed residential, that's brown. Parcel 58 is a legal nonconforming commercial property. Parcel 63 is a single-family dwelling. Parcel 78 is a common area and infrastructure for Rose Hill Acres. On behalf of the applicant, New River Engineers Incorporated submitted written correspondence, which includes a response to Article 2100.08D of the zoning ordinance. You'll see that in Attachment E. A public hearing notice was mailed to abutting landowners within 250 feet on February 14th of this year. The variance public hearing was legally advertised in the Hurricane Breeze on February 15th, and a notice of public hearing was placed at the site on March the 8th. Documented public comments are in Attachment F. Additionally, a citizen interaction occurred on March 18th That documentation is at your seat. And as normal, on the last sheet of your packet, you will find the worksheet. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I do have a couple questions. This, on attachment C, it looks like it's an office building and a parking lot. And there's a parking lot, it looks like 14 spaces, is that right? Am I reading that right?
13, I believe.
Well, 13 or 4, well, I guess with the handicap. So the variance, absent the variance, assuming they weren't, they got the 2 spaces in red, that's part of the variance. They want to add 2 more spaces that would be in the setback otherwise, right?
No, those pink spaces
Yeah.
are included in the 13 number,
Right.
and they're in the front setback.
Okay, so the ones that aren't shaded pink, those are,
No variance is being requested, yes.
so if it weren't for the 2 in the pink, they wouldn't need a variance for parking.
Correct.
All right, and then on the setback, if the only variance they need is 1.5 feet.
Yes, that's
Instead
what they're
of 10.
asking for,
Okay, so-
1.48.
If they were inside the setback and they only had the 11 spaces, would it comply with the zoning
If they're
requirements?
inside the setback and within the 10 feet, then that would be a non-issue. You know, if they're 10 feet away, the building is. As far as 11 spaces instead of 13, staff has the ability to allow them to not have 2 extra. So we have the ability to say, no, we can give you 2, meaning you can have 11 and 13. But the applicant chose to come through the process, and they wanted to get your opinion on letting them have the spaces at the setback.
Okay, so, but if they chose to omit those 2, then they wouldn't need a variance.
Correct.
Correct.
They could get away on bare bones as far as the ordinance language goes with 11.
All right, so they get away with 11, and if they could live with the 10-foot setback,
Correct.
then that type of building would be fine.
When you mean type of building,
Well-
are you asking about the use?
Yeah.
Yes, the office building is a non-issue. You're allowed to have an office building in a C1.
Okay.
Put a finer point on that. The only issues here are the setback, 8.48 feet versus 10 feet. That's one issue.
Yes.
Second issue is these 2 pink parking spots that would be against the right.
Yes, those are the only items up for discussion currently. That's the only thing that has been submitted to this office. We have yet to have a full set of plans review or anything like that. So as far as details of the project, other than that, you would want to get those answers from the applicant because I just don't have them.
Is there anything in the drawings that tells us how far the proposed variant spaces, I guess you'd call them, are from the edge of the Tays Valley Road?
8 inches. Well, from Tays Valley Road, no. Tays Valley Road is compliant. They have a 20-foot plus setback on the Tays Valley Road. That's a non-issue. It's
Okay.
the spaces at Don Heights are in question.
Okay, all right. So they wouldn't be up against the road. There's another, if you give them, if they were to get the variance, it's not like they'd be up against the pavement with those spaces. Up against the pavement with the proposed spaces.
Yeah, if you will look at the tax map, which is, I believe, D, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and you see how their parcel is outlined. If you look immediately to the left, and you see another pink piece of land outside the bolded land before you get to the actually delineated right-of-way of Don Heights, that is a 12 and a half just slip of land that's grass that's owned by the DOH. So you have the 40-foot right-of-way of Don Heights, and then you have the 12 and a half extra feet that is not included within them boundaries.
Oh, okay, so I was looking at that wrong. All right, I
Right,
got you
and so
now.
the 8 inches that we're talking about of the actual striped parking space would be the parking lot to that black bolted line, and then after that, 8 inches, you would have this 12 and a half piece of pink shading, which is DOH, and then you get to the 40-foot right-of-way, which is Dawn Heights.
Okay, I was looking at it wrong. So the parking lot space is front onto Don Heights Road, not Tays Valley Road?
Right, the access is
Okay.
onto Dawn Heights. There is no access onto Tays Valley Road.
Gotcha, all right. Sorry about that, I was looking at it backwards.
And from the pavement on, I think it's called Dawn Heights Road, as proposed, based on the limited information we have due to the ordinance change, from the pavement to the building it looks like 21 feet, based on this map? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And if this is a question better to address to the applicant.
Right, it looks like the
understand.
21 feet from the building to what is, that line looks like the hash of the right-of-way for the water line. So, and the water line would be inside of the Dawn Heights 40-foot right-of-way. So according to this, it looks like it'd be 21 plus to the actual pavement of Dawn Heights.
Okay. And given the right-of-way, who do, and if you don't know, I certainly can defer this to the applicant, who maintains the home access Route 959 to Dawn Heights?
Well, that used to be a privately owned subdivision road, and it was turned over to the Division of Highways. So that is now in the DOH's system.
Okay. Has the DOH been given notice of this proceeding?
No.
So I'm looking at the picture of what appears to be Dawn Heights Road. Is it strictly a residential road? Or are there other commercial businesses on Dawn Heights?
If you're in the audience, please wait until you're called on to speak. We can't have everyone in the room speaking at the same time while we're speaking with Ms. Sargent or the applicant or any of you individually. So please, no more outbursts.
Yeah, once you turn into Dawn Heights, it's a residential subdivision. There are homes in there. There are no
Okay.
businesses down through Dawn Heights.
Okay, so it appears from the picture, this Dawn Heights Road has no, say, traffic markings on it, striping, anything like that. It's just an unmarked residential style road.
Yes.
But it's owned by or maintained by the DOH.
It is owned by the DOH. I cannot speak to how well they maintain it.
And did you say there's no other commercial businesses on Dawn Heights Road?
Right,
It's all residential?
yeah.
Is this the old Barry's Barber Shop?
It is Barry's Barber Shop, yes.
I don't have anything else for staff.
Ms. Crouch?
Um,
Thank you. Does the applicant wish to speak to the variance request? If you would, please be sworn in and then state your name and address and speak directly into the microphone so that everyone can hear you.
You raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And make sure you speak into that microphone.
Feel free to adjust it if you need to.
Hello, I'm Matt Shelton with New River Engineers. I'm representing Parker Brothers Properties. I'd like to clear up a couple of the things you were discussing on the access coming off of Dawn Heights. So the Dawn Heights right-of-way is 40 feet from the backside of our property throughout the rest of the subdivision. It's an additional 12 and a half feet wide from the backside of our property to Tays Valley Road. We made inquiry with West Virginia Division of Highways to purchase the remaining right-of-way as excess. We have been advised by the DOH that they will not allow us to purchase that property, which is why we are requesting the variances. Had we been able to obtain the additional 12 and a half feet of width, we would not have needed to request the variance. We have engaged with DOH for a right-of-way permit to access our property. They would not allow us access off of Tays Valley Road. They recommended access off of Don Heights.
Anything else that you'd like to add?
The intended use, there's going to be an embroidery shop. The owner, Jesse's wife, purchased the remaining equipment when Mr. Gunter sold his business. She is now running that out of our office in Charleston, and they want to move down here in the valley with it. Additionally, we would like to move our office here. We have approximately 10 employees at our office in Charleston. And we are an engineering firm. We do not have a lot of traffic in and out of our office. It's usually just us.
Is there a, you may have heard I asked Ms. Sargent a question about the number of spaces. Is there a reason why you guys need those extra 2 that's in that right-of-way versus living with the 11, which I believe they said would be compliant with the zoning?
It frees up some space for us to leave our company vehicles there and not take up additional parking.
In terms of what's your timeline on your development plans? Like, I guess the structures are still there as shown in the photographs?
That's correct.
Okay. So what's your anticipated timeline of moving forward? I assume you're going to move that stuff?
The trailer is being sold. The house will be torn down. Assuming we can get approval, construction may start very quickly, within a few months. So we'll still have to finish the site plan and apply for the appropriate permits.
When you, what other, I mean, other than like a building permit, what permits are you talking about?
You would have to get a stormwater permit from West Virginia
For
DEP
construction.
for construction, yeah. And the MM 109 for the access to the site from DOH.
So if the variance isn't approved, how does that affect your plans moving forward?
If the variance isn't approved, we likely will not be able to build on the site. We need the space for the equipment for the embroidery business, more so than for moving our office there.
So let me break it into the two pieces. We've got the one setback to go to 8.5 feet versus 11, and then we've got the 2 parking spaces.
Yes.
So if you were to get the 1.5 foot setback, but not the 2 parking spaces, what does that do to your plans?
We could do without the parking spaces.
Were you involved in the design of the building?
Not the building, the location of the building.
So what is it about the 1.5 foot setback that seems to be a major
We're-
impediment?
We're trying to maintain the sight line of the houses along that side of Don Heights. And we need the square footage to meet the needs for the equipment inside the building.
By sightline, you mean this proposed building would be parallel to the front of the homes
That-
located in Don Heights?
That's correct.
Is the same 22 foot right of way run all the way to the back of Don Heights, do you know?
Yes.
So if you get the variance, would your building be 1.5 feet further out?
We would actually be 1 foot further.
1 foot?
1 foot, yes.
Do you know if the homes are, you know what the setback the homes is?
I would imagine they're a 20-foot setback. I do not have a clear answer to that, though.
It's okay. It's a long question. Any questions for, anything else that you want to add, Mr. Shelton?
That's it.
Any questions for Mr. Shelton?
You know how long that 22 or whatever that DOH right-of-way's been there? Has it been since the beginning, do you know?
I don't know the year that the DOH acquired the right-of-way. There was a program, I think sometime in the 80s or in the 90s, where they acquired these abandoned rights-of-way. Abandoned rights-of-way, and that's the HARP program, I think is what it was called, and that's how this was taken in.
Does staff know by chance how long that's been there? That 22-foot right away from the street or whatever that is?
I do not know when they took it over. I do think I tend to recall hearing that the association went defunct and that the association, and they can correct me if I'm incorrect, but that the association wanted the state to take over the right-of-way for maintenance. To give you a year, I cannot do.
Yeah. So there's no active HOA?
Sorry?
There's no active HOA?
That's my understanding.
What's the setback on what would be the top of this page if you just moved the building 1.5 feet the other way?
We would not be able to meet what would be, I think, considered the rear setback for the neighboring property, in which case we would likely have to request a variance for that.
So it just pushes the need to request a variance from one side to the other.
Correct.
You said you needed room for equipment. What kind of equipment?
So there's printing, it's logo and embroidery. His wife has a 6-needle machine to embroider 6 T-shirts at one time. She has various additional equipment for pressing T-shirts, printing logos.
Questions?
I do have one, actually. I can't understand, why is the front setback along Don Heights Road and not Tays Valley Road? What is,
So I have been advised by staff that there's a double setback there. So you have a 20-foot setback along Tays Valley Road, and then the setback along Don Heights can then be 10 foot because it's a double setback,
okay,
a double frontage, excuse
Okay.
me, yeah.
I got it.
Is there a reason the building couldn't be constructed 90-degree from where it is, just turning it this way so it fit?
We couldn't fit the parking, but we actually tried that. We couldn't fit the parking to meet the DOH requirements for access.
Any other questions for Mr. Shelton? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Parker, do you wish to address the board?
No, sir, he has all the answers.
That, we'll open this to the public for their comments. As you've seen, the staff has presented the case. We've heard from the applicant. We now wish to hear from each member of the public. If you wish to speak, could I actually get just informally a show of hands as to how many people wish to speak? 1, 2. Okay. If you wish to speak, come to the microphone, be sworn in, state your name and your address, and state what you wish to state, and we may have some questions of you, we may not. All comments that you make should be directed to this board. Please request to be recognized by me prior to making public comments. As I said earlier, let's keep the comments to the microphone because we do have to keep a record of this. This is an official proceeding. We'll hear testimony from each one of you. Each speaker will be allowed to speak once unless the board has a follow-up question. The public hearing is held for the board to receive comments. It is not a forum for debate. I will also just state on the record that the only two issues before us are the setback and the parking, the two pink parking spots. The use of the building is permitted under the statute. That's not an issue. So this can go in there. If it complied, we wouldn't have a hearing today. So I would ask that you please limit it to your comments to the issues that are before us, which are the setback and the two parking spots. So with that, why don't we just start? I think, ma'am, you wanted to speak, so if we could just start with you and we'll just go across the room.
My name is Elizabeth Kearns, and my address is 130, okay, Kerns. Yes.
All right, will you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. My name is Elizabeth Kearns, and I have, I'm sorry. I have the information about when we were taken over by the state road, by the Harp Road. Would you like to see that?
Yes, please.
Won't we make that, and just hand it to her and she'll mark it? We'll make it Exhibit 1. So you're a resident of?
Yes, I'm a
Don
resident
Heights?
of Don Heights. I live at the top of the road, and all these people are our neighbors. With our road at the entrance from Tays Valley Road, the traffic on Tays Valley Road, because there is a school, may I approach that? Or can I hold it and show you on this?
Sure.
Be very careful
But-
touching it, it may
Okay,
fall.
okay.
Yeah, just move it over
The
there.
entrance of, the entrance of Tays Valley, of Don Heights is here. This is the setback, and this is the state road right away. There are houses right across the street for that. So when they back out of their driveway, you know, people coming in the road, turning in and turning out. Two cars can't turn in and out at the same time. One has to go in, we have to wait on Tays Valley Road to let them out and to come in. We all feel like the access from our road is going to be more of a hindrance to us getting in and out of our road. This is at the entrance. There are many houses up the road. There's several, like at least 40 houses. And this is the only way that we get in and out of our road. There's also a bus stop here at the end of the road that will be on the same side as the building is. Also, Scott Tays Elementary's school speed zone sign is right past our entrance. So in the mornings, in the evenings, I know everybody says traffic, 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 but that's the only way we can get in and out of our road. And we feel like that them using our road as the entrance to the building isn't going to impede us from being able to get back and forth when we have to leave from work, return from work. Our kids catch the bus. They also get off the bus. People coming in and out. Their equipment sitting in their parking lot's not going to be conducive with our residential area. And as far as impeding the sights or the views of the residents, the people on the other side of the street, they're just going to see the building. It's just going to be the building right there. And these two parking spaces, if anybody parks on that part of the road, you can't get in and out. You have to swing wide. One car is only able to enter and exit at the time. You have to wait, somebody has to back up, let somebody in for them to turn in and out. And as far as the state road maintaining ours, as you can see On that paper that I gave you, the last time they did anything to our road was in 2016 to do any improvements. There is a grate at the end of our road for the water, because water does collect there, and it was repaired just here recently because part of the grate was in need of repair. And someone fell when they got off a bus there. So we feel like as residents of Dawn Heights, that would impede us from getting in and out of our residential area. Of course, we know we can't stop the building because it's already zoned for that, but we do wish not to have them to use access to get into their parking lot from our residential road.
You said that would impede access. What do you mean by that?
If this is Tates Valley Road. This is our sign, and this is where they want their parking lot to start. When you turn in, the road, Tates Valley Road's right here, so when you turn in, if something, you can't get in it. If there's two cars, one coming in, one coming out, you can't do it. The car coming out has to back up to let the car come in. Or everybody on Tates Valley Road has to stop and let somebody out to let somebody in.
I think I understand. Any questions of Ms. Kearns?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't quite see everybody now, but I think, sir, in the blue sweatshirt, I think you wanted to speak as well.
I think
And if you're going to reference that, if you just leave it there, that would.
I think the wife pretty much said everything I was going to say, so that works out.
All right.
Okay. Sir, if you would, be sworn in and then state your name and address, please.
Raise your hand. Do solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You don't have to speak into the microphone, I can't.
My name's Charles Tabor. Live at Charles Tabor.
Tabor?
Yeah, Tabor. I live at 107 Dawn Heights. So to reiterate what Ms. Kearns said, with the variances that would put a parking spot in, as they said they would want to leave their vehicles over, the course of their work hours, which typically they probably work, I would say 7 to 3:30, 7 to 5, which is right around the time our kids catch bus. So you put a vehicle there on top of, because the bus don't run down the street, everybody has to coincide right here. So you're having 5, 6 cars coming in and out of there or 10, they say 10 vehicles on a normal workday. So you're having 10 vehicles come in here on a workday with kids getting on and off the bus. And then who's to say that, they leave a vehicle there overnight? At the point that their parking lot overflows, where's the overflow cars going to go? They can say, we're not going to park on the street, but everybody parks on the street. And then, where's our kids going to get picked up off the bus at? So that's my number one concern, is about the safety of our kids. You're going to have people in and out of there all day long, and it's a family neighborhood, so you're going to have kids riding bikes up and down the street at the point of people turning in and out of there. 10 extra cars a day is a lot. So my question would be, if they want these 2 variances, why not remove the rain garden, make your entrance there?
Okay. So as I understand your concern, it's the additional traffic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
On
Anything
top-
else you wish to say, Mr. Tabor?
Yep. On top of, like Ms. Kern said, DOH doesn't touch our street. One time in 20 years is ridiculous. There's breaks in the road now. There's a break in front of my mailbox that there's a pothole there now. Everybody hits it. On up and down the street, there's breaks in it. So additional traffic, if somebody can't get turned in there, where are they going to go? On down the road, turn around in somebody's driveway. It's just going to be a nuisance.
Any questions of Mr. Tabor?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Why don't we stick, I think there were a few other hands in the middle section. Let's stick with this section, and then we'll come over here.
Kimberly Mason.
Kimberly
Mason, M-A-S-O-N.
Mason.
Yes.
You raise your hand. You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Take it to the mark.
Okay. So, and look, can I ask for a question of clarification?
Sure.
The setback, sorry, let me get it closer. The setback is wanting to move it forward, right? So that it makes the room for the parking spaces?
Well, I can tell you, my understanding is that the setback that they're asking for is 8.48 feet as opposed to 10 feet
Right, so.
from that red line.
So closer to Dawn Heights?
Correct.
Right, okay, I just wanted to make for clarification. So while I understand we're only addressing the 2 variances that they're requesting because it does meet the criteria. I'm so sorry.
And we can see
Okay.
that, okay? So
Okay.
you can,
So while I realize that we're talking about the 2 variances that are up for debate and that the actual building meets the zoning criteria, it is concerning for me that every other business, though, on Tays Valley Road does have an entrance from Tays Valley Road. And the fact that, I mean, I don't know, I haven't spoken to DOH, but have them come off of our road is very different from every other business. I know that, Dairy Queen, if you're familiar with the area, they have a Tays Valley entrance and a side entrance. The Speedway has a Tays Valley entrance and a side entrance. Sheetz, Save-A-Lot, they all have 2 entry points. And that does eliminate some of the traffic. You can go in one way and come out the other. My concern with the variances, though, is moving it forward. So Tays Valley, Dawn Heights right now, we have no sidewalks. So it's literally just residential property after residential property and their yards. I have 2 dogs, so for me that's a concern because I can't even walk my dogs once the closer it's moved. But also the kids, like people park there to have their kids picked up for the bus, and the closer it is, I just think it's unsafe for the kids when you turn in, that if they're standing on the corner, the closer that it is, at least if it's set back a little further, and I know it's a 1.5 feet, but it still should meet the guidelines, and then we would have a little more area for the kids. Again, I'm confused on the whole entrance from the state road. And as they also said, we don't have maintenance. I know that it says that we're a Harp Road, and we have a maintenance schedule that we were supposed to be put on that DOH has not done. So the more traffic, the more damage, the less maintenance, the more damage to our cars. It's really, really frustrating to come and experience this here. Because we just found out about it like last week. And again, I know that it would meet the criteria if there wasn't a variance, so we would have known and it could have just been construction. But it's frustrating. And I think that it would cause more issues to allow the variances because there's so many that have issues with it as it is. So.
where's the bus, as I understand it, there's a bus stop, is there a?
The bus stop's right here. The kids stand
Okay.
right here at the edge of the road.
You're pointing roughly at the box that says existing Dawn Heights?
Yeah,
sign?
if that's the sign, that's roughly where the kids stand, and there's cars that park right before that to have the kids picked up.
We got Exhibit B here, so it's right there by the sign. on
Yeah,
Tays
it's
Valley
right
Road.
there by the sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Ms. Mason, are you finished?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Mason? Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the middle section who wishes to speak? Okay, let's move, ma'am, I think in the front row in the gray sweater, I think you maybe wanted to say something? No, I could just be mistaken. Maybe just raise your hand if you wish to speak. Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Trudy Giesey, Giesey.
Giesey?
Yes.
You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am? Okay. I understand that we're only talking about the 2 issues. To reiterate what most people have said so far about the traffic, my main concerns are the children, which has already been addressed, and my second concern is emergency vehicles cannot access our road, And I personally, in the last year, have had 3 instances where I have almost died. And if there's more traffic or, cars parked along the road there, they won't be able to get in. And this might not be a question for you guys. I know you said make statements, but I'm just curious because if the company is asking for a variance on, distance from whatever, is there a way that the builders could ask for a quote-unquote variance to have access to their facility from Tays Valley Road? Or is that something you guys don't do?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
That's not within the jurisdiction of this board.
Okay. Again, along with the traffic, they said they're going to have 13 spaces. That is with the 2 in the front. And there's going to be 2 businesses. And one of the businesses has vehicles that they wanted to leave there. But he said there's roughly 10 employees and there's 13 parking spots. Where are the additional people going to park? It would have to be on our road. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Giese?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Oh, we got one.
Oh, yep, yes, please come up.
My name's Paul Smith. I live at 103 Don Heights. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please speak into the microphone.
Okay. Yes, I'm the one who's going to be really affected by this because I live across the street from that. Okay, on the other side, I'll be more or less looking at it. The building doesn't bother me. I mean, they want to build something, I don't care if they build it 10 stories high. But they're going to take my parking spaces. I have no on site on the other side of the street parking space. So in other words, I have my 2 for my house. And outside of that, anybody comes to visit me, they'll have no place to park because they're going to take them all up at the parking spaces. So that's going to shut me off from that. So if I ever go sell my house, yeah, I got 2 parking spaces. Hey, how you like that?
Where's your house in relation to the property? And we've got a map here, if it's easier to show us on there.
Okay. Do you want me to come up there?
Here, just
Yeah,
take
if
that.
you can, yeah, just take one and.
This Exhibit D, if you could just identify the parcel number. The one outlined in black, 22 or 22418 is where they're proposing to build the structure.
Hey,
It's going to be, this is coming, this will be up.
That's coming from the direction of, as if you were leaving Speedway or Scott Taylor.
Okay. So I would be, first parcel is in.
You're in 224B 102? All right. Okay.
Mr. Smith, please proceed. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, that's okay. Let me see if I got everything like that. But anyway, that's the main problem I have with it is the parking. But I'm retired, and I'll see these kids walking up the road to catch the bus. And they are out there at the very end of the highway, waiting to catch the bus in the road and all. It's dangerous out there. And if you got other cars coming in that really don't belong there, you know what I'm saying, as far as living there, well, there you got more chances of somebody getting hurt. And so that worries me. But, and also as far as pulling in off of Tays Valley Road, right across the street is it's a hair salon and a lady that does alterations and so forth, and it's all straight off the road. So that's what I don't understand, what's going on with that.
I mean, you talk about your parking, you're concerned about losing your parking. You talk about on-street parking?
Yeah, let me show you how we.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, you're parking cars along with Don Heights, right?
Yeah, see, we,
That's right. You're just parking cars on the paved portion of Don Heights, is what you're talking
yes,
about?
we have to, because we all park on the same side, because it's not wide enough, so people can get anything. Through. And so, that, everybody has to park that way. Well, they want to take all this space up. This is about where my parking would start, right there.
Looks
See,
like you're
it's all within the building.
It looks like you're indicating in the attachment D, what appears to be a white car or truck. Is that where you're indicating where you park? Is that your truck?
Yes, I'm going to practice my truck.
Right adjacent to parcel 22418.
Yes, you can see then, that's where I'll be parked. I'll be parked there anymore.
Okay.
And anyone else that would come visit me.
There's already parking on the street?
Yes. People park on that side of the street. People park on that side. And if you park on the other side, well, that way they back it out. Yes.
Okay. Understand. Any questions for, Mr. Smith, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Smith?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Yes, your hand went up first, ma'am.
Kim Taylor.
Kim Taylor?
Yes, ma'am. I live at 104 Don Heights. Second house on the left when you turn in. That house goes in. I won't be able to say that, will I? Second house on the left.
Raise your right hand, please.
I'm sorry.
You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you need to definitely speak.
Okay. Oh, no, I know, I'm soft-spoken. Okay, I am the original. I'm the original. I'm the first ones there. Neighbors across the street were there first, but there's been people come and go all the way down the road. And I've watched it grow. And like I said, when we moved in, we were the only ones there. I had a 7-month-old baby girl when we moved in. And now I've got 7 grandkids. But anyway, my thoughts really, I don't understand all this. I just worry about the safety of the children. I really do, because when I was younger and had my babies, I used to put my, butt out in the middle of the road, because we're telling you guys about you can't get in and out at the same time. You know, you can't have somebody sitting on Don Heights to turn and somebody come in to turn. You know what I mean? I've caused a lot of brake squealing in my lifetime till my kids got big enough to walk down there by themselves. And still, then you stay in and watch and make sure everything goes all right. But as far as the homeowners association, we never had one of those. It was never brought up. We didn't go to somebody's house and have coffee and talk about it. And I'll be there 45 years in October. So I just think that this will, take away from our little community. You know, it's moms, it's dads, it's kids, it's puppy dogs, it's bicycles, it's drones, it's a community. My feelings are, if you put that in, and this is just mine, that turns it into strip mall, you know. But like I said, we're the first ones there, and we've watched it all grow. And from what I understand, this is going to be a family business downstairs and upstairs both, if I'm understanding correctly. And there again, with the 10 parking spaces, there we go. I mean, he said they had 10 employees in Charleston. Well, there's all your parking right there. That's not even talking about the little embroidery, stitchy place that somebody's going to have downstairs. So, I just hope and pray that you all think hard about it and everything, and, we'll deal with it with whatever the good Lord happens to give us to deal with it with. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Any questions, Ms. Taylor?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw one other hand. Yes, sir.
Steve Christo, Christo.
Christo?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
yes.
And can you speak into the microphone?
I'd like to first speak about
Into the microphone, please.
how close can I get?
That's, if you say like that, you're good.
Speak about section 1500, drainage and the water. There's been no mention of that so far. The slope on that property goes east and south, so which kind of comes back toward my property, and Mr. Kaber, I don't know if he hasn't spoken yet, but his property goes to the east side of this property, and he has a driveway that runs underneath the building. He has a garage. I don't know if you have the picture of the whole area, but he has a garage apartment there, and the property basically drops off there. So I don't know how they're going to control the water with their rain garden or mosquito pit or whatever it's going to be called. But there was no indication that all the water from that parking lot is going to go into their rain pit or whatever. We don't want it coming out into Don Heights. Don Heights has had flooding before, over the years. So we don't want that water to come out over there. I'm sure that Mr. Kaber will not want that water running out the back side. I don't know what's called. The back side of the parking lot, where I guess it's a little turnaround where people can back up and edge into it. And, we just want to make sure that the water doesn't cause an issue in our subdivision. Then going back to section 1200, let's see, where was I? Yeah, as far as the parking, we don't know how many employees are going to be there. And the number of employees can change. You might say, well, we have enough there. But if that company moves out and somebody else moves in, it could become a call center, and you could have 30 employees. You just can't control those things by a variance or a panel. But anyway, though, basically my overall thought is that the lot is just too small for what they want to do. They're talking about 3,900 square feet, which is fine, and at 300 square feet needed for a parking space. I believe that's what the requirement is for that. That's why they have to have those two extra parking spaces. It's not because they just want them, it's because they need it for the size building they're going to build. If they build a 3,300 square foot building, they would only need the 11 spaces, and that was that. But they have squeezed this, if you look at that, they have squeezed the boundaries of the building to the very extent that they can on most all sides. So it's, the property is just too small for what they want to do. I mean, I do agree that they should come in and out of Don Heights because, in and out of Tays Valley Road. When that variance was granted, when Route 35 came into Tays Valley Road, those properties were granted that they could be commercial properties. But if you look at the properties, especially on the south side where that property is of Taste Valley Road, they are all much wider and deeper properties. This, where the barber shop was, is just a really small property. It was never designed for that. And so, I agree with the thing about the children and the parking and the trying to get in and out of that place, because it is a hassle a lot. But that was all I needed to say.
Any questions, Mr. Christo?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your name?
Barbara Christo, and I live at 102 Don Heights, which is the first residential building when you first come into Don Heights on the left. So their property and the water or whatever, if there are problems, will be ours. But that's not what I wanted to really impress upon you gentlemen, that we are a subdivision, and we do not have another inner place or an exit place. We're a cul-de-sac. And we have children skateboarding and sometimes skating and playing and water pedals and all that stuff. And I'm just really concerned about the traffic and them at the bus stop. A kid was getting off the bus, this has been about a month ago, and there was a grate missing, and long story short, he fell in the hole where the grate wasn't there. I mean, it had been gone. So I'm just more worried about the children than I am about his building or anything. Well, I'm concerned about the parking because of where I live. But I hope you reconsider that we are a subdivision, and we have children, grandchildren, and we are very, very concerned about the bus stop at the end of the street because there's nowhere else for the bus to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christo. Any questions for Ms. Christo?
Oh, come on, give me a question.
How long have you lived there?
I was the third, we were the third people in, and Kim said 44 years, and ours is 33. I mean, 43. See, I get nervous.
All right.
Yeah, we've lived there a long time, raised our family there, and my grandchildren have gone out in the street and played in the pedals and ridden bicycles and all that stuff. But of course, they're older now, but I still think of them as this little. But yeah, we've been there a long time, and it's just a sweet neighborhood. Yes, the Taylors and the Christos have been there the longest. But when the neighbors come in, like Paul, he lives across the street, and we were like that, friends. And it's that kind of a neighborhood where everybody looks out for other children. I don't have children, but boy, I watch that bus stop. And anyway, okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Just to get a gauge, is there anyone else other than this person who wishes to address the board?
Hi, Mary Huff. Huff, Huff, and I live at 131 Don Heights.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am. Lots of people today have talked about the safety of the children. Next month, I will have lived at Don Heights for 27 years. I myself have raised my kids there, and actually Miss Taylor, once she left, I took over walking out in that street just to protect our children. Lots of people have talked about that, so I won't go into that because that is obviously an issue that we are concerned about. The traffic on the street. But what some people haven't mentioned is we do have a cul-de-sac, but that cul-de-sac up there is not actually big enough to even turn around. It's very small, and I don't know if you guys can tell by looking at that, but Ms. Geezy over here, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but she does have lots of health issues. Other people on my street have had health issues. I have witnessed several times living there through the years to where the police, the fire trucks, that sort of things, ambulances, they always have to back down or find someplace, a driveway to be able to back into. Some people have opted to park their vehicles in their driveways, put up gates so that people can't turn around there, and that's not okay. So if we bring these other people on our street and they can't turn around down at the beginning at this business, then they are going to have to drive up and find a place to park. And sometimes there aren't enough places for us to park on our street because it is a small street. And when you raise families and that sort of thing, you just don't have enough places in your own driveway to park your vehicles. You know, at one time it was like I had a small used car lot because I had 3 sons, and then myself and my husband had vehicles. So I just wanted to mention to you guys too about that, the cul-de-sac, and how that's just not that's not big. Thank you for your time.
Any questions of Ms. Huff?
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Sam Chaber. Chaber, C-H-A-B-E-R. B is in boy. I do. I don't live on Dawn Heights, but I advocate for them.
You speak in.
I don't live on Dawn Heights, but I advocate for them, and I support them. Why? I have property on the east side parallel with his property that he just purchased, that they mentioned I rent out, garage apartment that floods. Even though there's grass there, water just runs into my garage apartment and my crawl space in my house, which I have sump pumps in both places. That's not the big issue. The big issue is these families that live on Dawn Heights, concerning when the bus stops there, I watch because I have a shop, Sam's Hair Design, across the street on Tays Valley Road, and Anna's Alteration next to me. This is Dawn Heights. This is my house here. Like the gentleman said, it sits down. This is Gary's property, and mine sits down 2.5 feet below. That's why the rain comes down to my property. My shop is on the north side, Sam's Hair Design. Water problems I've taken care of with the sump pumps. But these folks on Dawn Heights, when I see the buses in the morning and evenings, in the afternoon, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, between elementary and the high schools, especially elementary, stopping there, some go to Dawn Heights, some cross the street to Rose Hill. Don't need any more traffic. It's a residential area. I guess this gentleman, I support new businesses in the valley because I purchased it 40 years ago. My house, I turned into a hair salon. His top priority is maximize property use with the parking lot. To get parking more, he needs the entrance to Dawn Heights to allow parking on Tays Valley Road frontage because of the employees and so forth. But the top important thing you guys need to consider is safety for the families and their kids. I think this meeting here should take place at Barry's Barbershop parking lot so you can have visual. Many people can read maps like this. Oh, okay. You got to be there to see the proposal. You got to be there 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, am I right? A lot of close calls, and I think a couple of times, a car went into Barry's sign, which is on the entrance of the stop sign, Dawn Heights. Cars hit Barry's Barbershop sign right there in the corner, where you see this proposed. Meaning they're probably taking, I'm decent in math, probably another 8 feet of their own high street, minimizing. It's like going from 3 lanes to 2, which will be difficult. Like I said, drainage problems, I'm sure the plan will be fine with his drainage situation, because now there's grass, and I still got flooded. I have 2 sump pumps in the garage apartment and 1 under my crawl space in the house. But I'm sure they'll be taken care of. Again, that's not an issue. Big issue, it is, but not big. Really, I feel for these people a lot. You know, you got kids from Rose Hill Acres and Dawn Heights. It's a family-oriented place, Dawn Heights and Rose Hill. I've been there since 1986 myself. So your top priority is safety. You know, if we can address that and take care of it, more power to you, and we welcome him to the community. But really, you guys need to be there to really actually see the proposal. It's good on a map, but you got to be there and see that traffic. You know, there's a blind hill that comes from the west side where Speedway is in Scott Hayes Elementary. I mean, my parking lot, there's a lot of older ladies that live there. Dawn Heights, we have a few customers in there that come out, heading east. You got to be there to see it, I'm sure. You know, from Speedway, across the street is the school, coming east towards Sheets. You got to react. You got to act fast to come out. A lot of brakes. You've seen a lot of people squealing there because it's a heavily traveled road and people don't follow the speed limit most of the time. So number one priority is safety. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chamber. Any questions? Thank you, sir. I think we've exhausted everyone, but is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right. Any additional questions of staff or the applicant to close the public hearing?
I have a question of staff. So in the facts section, point number 1, it says that Article 600.05A states the minimum secondary front setback is to be 10 feet. So then when I look at the ordinance, it's the primary setback should be 20 feet and the secondary 10 feet. So with the setback here being denoted as 10 feet, that tells me that this entrance, this side has been designated the secondary setback.
The secondary front setback, yes.
If that's the entrance to the property, why is it secondary and not primary?
Okay, so the option is left up to staff to make that decision. And as always, when a building faces, in this case, Tays Valley Road, when the access points to the building faces Tays Valley Road, when the parking lot faces on Tays Valley Road, then, and that's always going to be the primary setback, especially given, and these people, right, the traffic is very bad on Tays Valley Road. You do not want to move forward the development, the parking, the building close to Tays Valley Road. So the safety issue comes with Tays Valley Road mostly, and that's why it's a 20-foot setback, the greatest setback that we have the option of, instead of Dawn Heights, where there's minimal ins and outs and compared to Tays Valley Road.
Okay, so the choice of what is the primary and secondary setback is made by the planning officer?
Yes.
Okay.
And that language is in that chart, if you're interested,
Yes.
earlier in your packet there.
Okay, so in the opinion of the planning officer, the primary setback does not necessarily have to be the setback where the entrance resides.
No, it does not. There is a safety factor involved in the consideration. So along Tays Valley Road, their 20-foot setback has been met and exceeded a little bit. the Don Heights, there's the 10-foot, but then there's also that additional, quite frankly, I've never seen it before. There's what I'll call an extra strip of land outside of the right-of-way of Don Heights Road, and it's 12 and a half feet wide. So if you take the consideration that it's a 10-foot setback requirement, and then you have the extra 12 and a half foot right-of-way sliver of land, you add those together, and you actually do have, in theory, space-wise, grass space-wise, you have your 20 that you would kind of match at the Tays Valley portion.
Okay, so Article 600 says that the planning officer shall determine the primary and secondary frontages. Are those decisions made just at the discretion of the planning officer, or is there some written criteria that they must follow to make the determination whether it's secondary or primary on the footage?
No, when it comes to the zoning ordinance and those types of decisions, it's up to the discretion of the planning director. And then we go from there. There was a file memo made. He did make the decision, and we have moved forward with that. And that is the authority of the director.
Okay. And then my other question is, let me find my place here. Give me just a second. Okay. At the front of our packet, under Item 1 Applications, subsection 2 there, it says Article 1200.02E requires no parking in the front setback. So when I read that, when I first went through this packet, it says requires no parking. I thought, well, they're not required to have a parking spot there. But then when I read the ordinance, it says, Article 1200.02E, no parking shall be permitted in any required front setback.
Correct. That's correct. No parking is, the planning officers cannot permit, without going through this process with you, parking in the front setback.
Okay. That's pretty, in my opinion, this is not a question, but no parking shall be permitted.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have.
Quick question on the access off of Tays Valley Road. I think we heard some testimony from the applicant that the DOH wouldn't approve access off of Tays Valley Road?
Yes, the Putnam County Commission, Putnam County Planning Commission, staff, BZA, no one has the authority other than DOH, the state government, to say where your access points can go. And it's my understanding that DOH has made their decision, and they have decided no access points on Tays Valley Road. And if you will look on packet D, I'll just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are literally 6 access points already existing on this print. And again, traffic is bad, and they are not interested in putting another one. That kind of goes hand in hand with what they do in this type of situation. Adding another access point on parcel 817, in theory, is only going to create more stops, ins and outs, onto an already congested road. So it's their decision to put the access point onto 18, or excuse me, for parcel 18 onto Don Heights. That is their theory into helping the situation as far as a new point is.
And this board doesn't have the authority to require it to be on
No.
the road, even if that were the thoughts of the.
Only the Division of Highways has that authority.
So is there not a current access for the barber shop off of Tays Valley Road?
Yeah, it's I don't really like to call it an access point. It's kind of like
No, you can't. The public hearing is.
It's kind of like a very large open space where people just pull in and out. It's not a defined entrance.
It's an unauthorized access point?
Well, it's a legal non-conforming lot. So that has been there for an extended period of time. It does not meet the ordinance, and so they're wanting to do improvements, as they talked about the MM 109. They want to do construction on DOH property. And when that happens, when you're changing what's out there, you have to go through their system and get their permit and approval to do so.
Okay, because it's a new development?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, I understand that. Okay.
Any questions? With that, let's just take them up one at a time.
Are we close public hearing?
Yes, I've already had. The public hearing is now closed, and the board will deliberate on these two variance requests. Recommend that we take the first request first, which is the secondary front setback, which is a minimum of 10 feet, and the applicant is seeking 8.48 feet. For matters of the record, I or others may refer to that as 8.5 feet, as opposed to the 10 feet.
Can I raise a point of order with the chair before we proceed?
Yes.
I would suggest I would move that we adopt all of the evidence presented, exhibits, and testimony as the factual record upon which we're going to make our decision before we proceed to deliberate on the factors.
I agree with that, and is that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Does that motion and second include adopting it for both the variance of Article 600.05A, Article 1200.02E?
Yes, it does. It's just my motion, so if Mr. Parker wants to, or not Mr. Parker, I'm sorry.
Charles, you're still seconding?
Mr. Hodge.
I'll second.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We will adopt as our record the packet, the comments from public, the applicant, and staff.
So,
So we have got our criteria for a variance.
so which one are we talking about? Can we talk about the parking space first? I don't know which one that one is.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me, no objection.
Okay, so I'll just tell you guys what I'm thinking. On the parking, it's got to arise from a special condition which is not created by the person seeking the variance, eliminate unnecessary hardship. I don't think we got that for the 2 parking spaces. I think the testimony was they could get by with the 11, and the 11's fine. So I don't know that, I would find at least the 3rd factor there on the parking spot to be not satisfied. That's my thinking, but I want to get your all's thoughts on that as well.
So you don't believe that the need for these additional 2, what I'll call the pink parking spots on attachment C?
I don't think there's an unnecessary
That's not-
hardship, and I don't think that there's anything unique about the property that would justify that. That's my thought. So it'd be really 2 of them, but the main one would be the unnecessary hardship.
I think I agree with you, and the reason being is, well, one of the reasons is that the applicant, through its expert, has stated that those are not necessary. And I think the exact phrase was they could live without it.
Right.
So it seems to me that it may eliminate an inconvenience, but it does not eliminate an unnecessary hardship to those 2 spots.
That's my thought.
I would concur. I think criteria 2 and 3 are both a no for me, and it's based on the same reasons, but
Okay, for the parking space.
yes, for the parking spots.
All right, okay.
So is it fair to say that both of you would answer no to criteria 4, which is the variance would eliminate an unnecessary hardship and permit a reasonable use of the land?
It's, well,
Criteria
3,
3.
whichever it is, but I
Oh,
think.
sorry, I was miscounting.
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm a no on that.
Yeah, and I'd be a no on that one, too. So I think I would move, or I guess I don't know if it's a motion, whatever it is, but I'll just make the motion that the application for the 2 additional spaces be denied.
Motion's made for the variance request as to Article 1200.02E to include 2 additional parking spots within the setback be denied.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
2 ayes. What I'll call the second variance request for the parking spots is denied.
All right.
So next, we've got the setback variance request, which is to change the setback, secondary setback, from 10 feet to 8.48 feet.
Right. All right, so this one is a lot closer for me. I think we do have testimony that it would be a unnecessary hardship on them. They wouldn't be able to build their building and do their business the way they want it without that additional 1.5 feet. And that unusual situation, I think that staff mentioned, of having this extra DOH setback over there is somewhat unique. So I can see those two being true, but invite your gentleman's thoughts on those as well.
You're talking about 2 and 3 being true?
Yeah, I can see that.
I agree with 2 and 3 being true. I would be a no on 1 and 4. On number 1, the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, welfare, or rights of adjacent property owners or residents. I just feel that the nature of this street, as far as I know, it's all residential. It looks like a narrow residential street. I just feel like this, for that reason, the guidelines need to be strictly followed. I feel like if it was more of a Tays Valley Road thing, it might be a little bit different, but in this case, and then also, as I mentioned with my questions to staff, as far as I understand, it's up to the planning officer to determine what's the secondary and primary side of the property or setback. In this case, I feel like where the entrance is, that's the primary, which in my mind would require a 20-foot setback. And so for me, we're looking at not just a 1.5 foot difference. I think we're looking at, an 11.5 foot difference, in my opinion, in the way that I read the ordinance. So I'm going to be a no on 1 and 4.
Mr. Chairman?
Rare instance where it seems I may be called on to break a tie. My view is a little different than Mr. Hodges. The criteria 1 is that the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, or the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. We're not talking about the traffic. The traffic is not an issue before us. I appreciate that it perhaps could be, but what we're looking at is whether this whether this variance request from 10 feet to 8.48 feet is creating, is adversely affecting the public health, safety, or welfare. And I've not heard any evidence that that variance that they've requested is adversely affecting public health, safety, and welfare. The evidence that we've heard is that the traffic is affecting it. It doesn't have anything to do with the variance itself. It's only the traffic.
And this property is zoned commercial at the front, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if this building were, 1.5 foot smaller, we wouldn't even be here. So my view is that the variance itself is not affecting, and I understand the concern, and I fully appreciate the concern that the additional traffic could be a problem. But the variance request, the setback change is not the cause of that concern. That concern would exist independent of the variance as requested, in my view.
I mean, I would push back on that some, especially if it comes to point 4. The variance will allow the intent of the zoning ordinance to be observed. I think the intent here is to protect the residents around the property, consider everyone's concerns, and then we decide whether we need to follow, how closely to the ordinance we need to follow. So I push back, especially on point 4. If I couldn't get you on point 1, I would try on point 4.
To be fair, I was only talking about point 1. I hadn't really talked about point 4 yet.
Yeah.
So let's talk about point 4. The variance will allow the intent of the zoning ordinance to be observed. So the question is, intent of the zoning ordinance, why is there 10-foot secondary setback.
Well, it's just provide a buffer from the road. I mean, that's what it is, right?
That's typically what a setback is for, in my view, is a buffer for the road. Here, what's a little odd is if we look at attachment C, which is also on the map, the setback that we're talking about is this red line. At one point it says WVDOH-RW. So that's that right of way. But the actual road is indicated on this, designated here as home access Route 959, Dawn Heights, concrete. So before you get to the building, you've got what is a water line right of way, I believe. Then there's a green strip of grass, and then you get to the DOH right of way, and then you've got the 8.5 feet. So to me, there exists a buffer from the roadway itself to the building of, it looks like on the map, approximately 20 feet. My view on that is, to Mr. Stone Street's point, the intent of the ordinance is to create a buffer for the road so that you're not building right up on the street. That's not the case here.
And we can go back to number one, the safety issue. Having this entrance here, I mean, could that actually mitigate some of that safety issue? If you got, I think there was testimony that you can't get two cars down the road, but you're gonna have more space to kind of get off the road here in the front. And that little bit of entrance. It's
Yeah.
not much, but it's
And what we've
something.
heard, is that an entrance onto Tays Valley Road has been deemed problematic by the Division of Highways. Here, with this road, with this proposal rather, entering onto Dawn Heights Road, we're going to see, since we've already denied these secondary parking spots, we're actually going to see that parking for this building will be far removed from the road where the residents have already testified.
I would just add your discussion on the intent of the frontage being a buffer. I go back to the Article 600.05 where it says, if there are multiple frontages, then one shall be the primary frontage with a setback of 20 feet, and the remainder shall be the secondary frontage with a setback of 10. And then it's up to the planning officer to make that decision. Look, I'm not the smartest guy up here. I'm just a citizen volunteer. But here we have a building with one entrance. There's not a side entrance. There's not a primary entrance and a secondary entrance. There's one entrance. In my mind, that is the primary use of the property. That's where all the business is going to be coming in and out of there and taking place. And because of that, I feel like the frontage setback we should be talking about 20 feet, not 10. Now, I know that the planning officer has made a decision, and that's out of my, I can't do anything about that, but I can read the ordinance, and I really strongly feel like there's an issue here with the primary and secondary frontage. It's just, like I said, if there was two entrances, that would be one thing, but there's not. There's one entrance. It's very clear when I look at the site plan, that's the primary side, and the setback should be 20 feet. In that case, the buffer is broken tremendously in my mind, and I think the intent of the zoning ordinance, therefore, has been violated.
Your view, are there any instances where variance could be granted based on setbacks?
I think there are instances where variances can be granted based on setbacks. We've had different instances come before the board on 1 foot, 30 feet, 50 feet. And I think that's why we're here, to determine, okay, is this reasonable or is this not reasonable? And ultimately, it's just kind of up to our interpretation of the ordinance. And in my interpretation of the ordinance, it's a no.
We've denied them before, right? All right, so Mr. Hodges is a no on at least one. That's where we are.
So as I'm hearing the discussion, criteria 2 and 3, it seems like Mr. Stone Street, Mr. Hodge, you both are yeses. So we can set those to the side. Criteria 1, what I'm hearing, please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Stone Street, you are a yes, and Mr. Hodge, you are a no.
That's correct.
The same is true for the fourth criteria, the variance will allow the attendance to be observed.
I'm a no.
I'm a yes on that one, too. Yes.
Okay, so any other discussion before we entertain a motion?
So just to make clear for the public, because I'm a no on at least one criteria, I'm required to vote no on granting variance.
That is correct.
And he's all yeses, so that creates a tie, which would throw it to you being the presiding officer.
Correct. The only time that the chair, or the president can vote is if there is a tie. So would one of you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion if we deny the variance.
Is there a second?
No. Not for me. I don't know about you.
Nor for me, based on my view of the evidence before us. Mr. Stone Street, do you wish to make a motion?
Yeah, I would move that we approve the variance for the 1.5 setback change.
Yes, Mr. Hodge, you're not going to second that. So given that there are only 3 of us tonight, I will second that motion.
All right?
Any further discussion?
No.
Well, I would say to one of you who's not persuadable, one of you may be, I would just say, just consider what I said and vote no.
Very much appreciate your very cogent comments, Mr. Hodge.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
With a tie, my vote is in favor of granting the ordinance based on the evidence we've had. Yes, the variance, I'm sorry. Mr. Hodge makes some good points, but my view is, as I stated earlier, that all 4 criteria are in this instance with respect to the setback issue.
Okay?
So with that, I've got a proposed order, proposed that I be authorized to do is after close of the public hearing, discussion was held and a vote was taken. At the conclusion thereof, the board voted to deny the application.
Excuse me, you
Or the
have
park.
one order for both, and what I recall you did similarly a previous time is that you filled the order out to deny in part and approve in part.
That works.
I think it'd be cleaner if you just prepared a new order, but that's just me. You guys, you're the chair, you decide.
Yes, we can approve a
what-
new order if you wish to come into the office and sign it.
Why don't we do that and let me know when it's ready and I'll come
Okay.
over and sign it.
It'd be cleaner that way. And make sure it says 2-1. Just so it's clear, right? Yes.
And
Happy to be on the record.
All right, there you go.
all right, I think that's the best way to put it so that this is clear.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The next agenda item is a staff report.
You want to let the members of the public.
Yeah, and then applicant, members of the public, you're welcome to stay for the remainder of the hearing, but don't feel compelled to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'll be brief here. I just have a few things to say. Our next scheduled meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 11th at 6:30. We do not have an agenda item at this time, but we will keep you informed.
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
6:30.
Unless you guys decide differently.
Let's ask this, what do people prefer 6:30 or 7?
It doesn't matter to me, I just want to show up on time. That's all, I just have it on my calendar, it's always been at 7, and I just didn't catch that it got moved to 6:30. My apologies.
Let's try it at 6:30 and then we'll revisit it the next time. When is the deadline for an application to be made before we know?
I honestly
It's
don't.
okay if you don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to get anything in, quite frankly. We don't have anything pending.
I will say, to the extent that there's not an agenda item, I see no need to have a meeting.
Assume we resolve what we need to resolve tonight on officers.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Okay, so real briefly, I emailed each of you a copy of the 2023 annual report here over the past few days, and just for your information and convenience, a copy of the report is at Mr. Tully's desk. It was presented to the Planning Commission, let's see, on January 25th, which is customary practice. And if you have any questions or concerns relative to the 2023 annual report, feel free to get in touch with me, and we can discuss that. Next thing is, again, I'd like to just give you an update on the update of the comprehensive plan for 2024, which you also have at your at Mr. Tully's seat, and I've also emailed a copy of the draft that is in the works to all of you for your convenience. An advertisement was published in the Hurricane Breeze newspaper on Thursday, February 22nd, and on Thursday, February 29th, advising the public that the first draft of the updated comp plan would be posted on the Office of Planning and Infrastructure's website as of Monday, March the 4th. First draft of said plan will be presented to the Planning Commission on Thursday, March 28th for review and hopefully recommendation to the County Commission for approval and adoption. Our office will be accepting public comments relative to this draft of the updated comp plan until Wednesday, March 27th. And those comments will be included when we talk to the Planning Commission on the 28th. If the Planning Commission approves of and recommends the updated comp plan for acceptance by the County Commission, our office will advertise the date and time that the County Commission will review said plan. Per West Virginia Code, the county's comp plan must be updated every 10 years. The county's current plan was last updated in May of 2014. Therefore, our office will endeavor to receive approval and acceptance of the plan prior to the end of May 2024 to maintain code compliance with the state. So thank you for letting me read that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Let's, I guess, go to unfinished business, and I think it's a good point to take up election of officers. Is it accurate that we have to make this decision tonight?
Yes, your bylaws say that you have to make it during this first meeting.
As a point of order, Mr. Chairman, as I tell my kids, you don't have to do anything if there are consequences. If you don't.
Very fair point, Mr. Stone Street. Well, let me ask this, does anyone want to be president?
You do.
I was looking at you.
Hey, I'm your wingman.
Does Mr. Stonestree, I'll ask him for you, does anybody want to be vice president?
I'll be vice president.
I can be secretary.
All right.
I'll move that we adopt the same officer slate as we had in 2020.
Hang on, can we nominate and elect the people that aren't here?
I think we could. If we so chose.
I think Mr.
Now's your chance.
I think Mr. Oh God, Mr. Stewart's might be.
Let's,
I wouldn't do that to him.
I will move that we report to him that we have suggested him in his absence, but I'll move that the slate of officers remain the same for 24 as it was in 2020.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Might not have broken that tie the same way.
Yeah.
All right, so we now have officers. Any new business? I move we adjourn.
Nope. I'm in for that.